Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. This is Seth Greene. We are here today talking with Ryan from A Plan B. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Appreciate the time.
Of course, for our folks watching and listening, it's an interesting business you've got. What does A Plan B do?
Well, when Plan A doesn't work, we're the Plan B. So basically, and no, we're not the birth control pill company. So basically what we do is we're in the liquidation business. So people make products all the time. People, listeners probably made something or selling something on Amazon or sold something at retail, wholesale. And basically when the product doesn't sell, we come in and help them out and we give it a new life. We basically remarket it so it doesn't get thrown away. So we're kind of helping out the planet so it doesn't get, put in a landfill. But basically when people have a surplus, a closeout, excess inventory, there's a lot of names for it. They will call us and say, hey, we have this inventory, we have X amount, can you buy it? We buy it, we take possession of it, we then bring it in a warehouse, and then we turn around and resell it. So we give new life to it and find a new home for it.
That is awesome and a much needed service. How did you get started? One doesn't, I would imagine you didn't wake up when you were 7 and go, I want to be in the liquidation business when I grow up.
You're 100% correct. Life just took me in this direction. But when I was finished with high school, I basically went and worked in the family business that my father owned. And it was a movie distribution business. It was like VHS tapes. If for anyone that's listening that used to
remember.
Okay, good. So we used to buy and sell movies to video stores like Blockbuster Video or Hollywood Video or Movie Gallery or in your neck of the woods, West Coast Video. So there were a lot of video chains that we dealt with. So we were buying and selling movies. And then what actually happened is somebody called me and said, hey, we have these movies that were supposed to be in a Happy Meal and it didn't work out. Hanna-Barbera movies, VHS, why don't you take them and sell them to Target? And I was like, okay. And literally I called Target and they said, okay, we want them. And I'm like, wow, did God help me here? What just happened? I don't know how this maneuvered so quickly. So then I realized that there was a business of buying things in large bulk, like truckloads of things, where when you're dealing with a movie of a Blockbuster Video, a video store, you're only buying like 10 or 20 or 50 or 1,000 movies at the time. So this was more like large, full truckload, 20, 50,000 units. I don't remember. And so then as we grew and we started selling to Best Buy and Circuit City and Kmart and all Target and all these other guys, the need increased. People wanted more. And what happened is any buyer, for anyone that doesn't know this, at a retailer, if they're buying batteries or they're buying flowers or they're buying, garbage cans, that buyer buys about 50 other product lines. So the buyers I was working with were like, hey, I don't buy movies. I buy other stuff. What else do you have? So then it just kind of quadrupled from there.
I'm sure the longer version of that story could be in a book somewhere if it isn't already.
Yes.
That is fascinating. Man, I got questions. Okay, so first of all, you listed a whole lot of businesses that aren't around anymore.
I'm in an industry that slowly just keeps pivoting, dying, and then I have to pivot.
Well, I was going to ask that question was, okay, so if you're buying product from a Blockbuster, a Kmart, some of those other companies, then as the landscape changes, as Blockbuster goes out of business and loses to Netflix, you then have to find somebody else. How do you figure that out? Like, okay, Blockbuster is closing stores left and right. Sears is closing stores left and right. If those, are you buying both buying inventory, excess inventory, and then selling them other people's excess inventory, in which case now you need new customers for both sides? How does that work?
So to answer your question, threefold. Number one, yes, I will buy and sell from Target stores. So I have sold them off-price items, liquidation. I also have bought from them. I bought inventory because it always happens. Hey, I got this problem. Can you help me with this? I bought too many TVs or whatever. So that's the first thing. The second thing is yes, these retailers are a dime a dozen and go in and out of business. I mean, in the last week, we lost, Bed Bath & Beyond, Tuesday Morning, Christmas tree shops. So when these chains go away, just with evolution and what's going on, we are just like an entrepreneur, Sharkpreneur, a salesman. I have to find new places and I have to constantly pivot. I think all salesmen will know this. You're constantly pivoting. You're constantly have challenges, especially in the last few years. You're having to do things, come up with new things. Salesmen are creative. It's like in the movie Jerry Maguire. We wake up and go, all right, today's the day. So we're always doing that. And, to answer your question, Blockbuster to Netflix. Yes, I started buying from Netflix. Netflix started sending DVDs out to people, which they just canceled in the last couple of weeks. So we started buying from them. And we actually sold to Netflix too. So every retailer, whether they're online or physical, brick and mortar, it's called, we've probably most likely done business with them at some point in our life.
Do you ever get to double dip? Can I buy from Target excess inventory and then sell somebody else's excess inventory back to Target?
Yes. And I wouldn't use the word double dip, but yes, we have bought from them and sold to them. And I've even, in my history of doing this, I've even bought something, sold it to somebody, they sold it back to me, and then I sold it back to someone else.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So if you're committing, this sounds like, if I'm interpreting you correctly, when you're talking about truckloads, massive warehouse storage, infrastructure business. So you're obvious, I think, if you're buying a truckload of books that Target didn't sell, are you buying that, taking the risk that you can resell it? Or do you already line up a buyer and you're basically just being the middleman and getting a fee for that? How does that work?
50-50. So sometimes we are the broker. We don't really call it a broker because, a broker is like a real estate broker. They don't own it. But most of the time we'll know somebody that already wants the inventory. Because I've been doing this for some 30 years, I already know what Target wants. I know what Five Below wants. I know what Big Lots wants. I know what, Walmart wants. So when someone says, hey, I have Lysol, kitchen cleaner, I already know 3 people that want to buy it. So yes, I could pre-sell it, it would be the word, or I have already made the deal, or I'm just going to buy it and take the chance and bring it in, and I know that it'll sell over time. Have I ever had to close out my own closeouts? Yes, I bought inventory that people don't want, and I'm stuck with it and have to sell it for a penny.
And do you ever resell to another liquidator inventory you couldn't liquidate?
Yes. We're all kind of know each other, and there's actually many different facets and divisions of the liquidation business, which would be a whole nother call another time, or if we ever get a coffee. But the simple buying and selling a truckload of shovels or garbage cans or clocks, that's pretty simple, and that's pretty much what we do, is we buy brand new product. There are other divisions of it where people buy customer returns, like you've gone and returned something. Well, Target then can't go put that back on the shelf. They then have to sell it to a liquidator. I'm not that liquidator. I'm not in that wheelhouse, that niche, because I don't want to deal with touched product, customer remorse, customer returns, it's called. But there are a lot of people that do that, and there's actually a show on A&E about it.
I did not know that.
Yes, you're learning a lot on this call.
I am. This is awesome. So that very first one, you said, I'll just call. How does one just call? How do you even know who to call? If you hadn't done it before, how do you know I'll call Target and try and find ultimately the person who can say, sure, I don't know you, but I'll take your truckload of stuff and here's a purchase order?
If we go back to circa the 90s, it was very easy. Unfortunately, technology has made it a lot harder these days. You cannot call a retailer like Target and say, hey, can I speak to the buyer who buys batteries? You're actually screwed. You're SOL, because they won't give you the information because of privacy laws and all that. So you have to somehow find it online. But I already have contacts and I already know. But back then it was as simple as picking up the phone and calling Walmart, and someone answered the phone back then, up until probably 5 years ago before voicemail, and would say, how can I help you? And say, I want to speak to the buyer that buys trash cans. Okay, let me put you through. It was like that beautiful. Now it's just, we all have more challenges, salespeople trying to find the right person. And there's now AI and technology like seamless.ai, which will try to get you phone numbers.
Which we use. So that makes I'll date myself with the word, but that makes your Rolodex, your network of contacts, that much more valuable because you can go direct to the right person.
Yes. But also, again, there's challenges. That person there's a lot of, revolving doors in that rotation. There's that person who's a buyer now is a different buyer. Like, Amazon.com, they have a policy that the buyer is only the buyer for 6 months in that category, and then they move to somewhere else. So, and other companies are taking that lead and doing that same thing. So it just makes it fun.
Why are they rotating like that? Is that because they need to learn other things?
Yes, I think it's kind of like the Southwest viewpoint, Southwest Airlines, they want everyone to know their planes. So I think they want everyone on Amazon to know everything about it, which is great, but it also helps to stop so that a buyer doesn't get too cushy with their vendors, if you know what I mean. So there's not like, deals being done that shouldn't be done.
So if I'm allowed to ask, how much inventory do you turn over in a year?
Oh my God, a lot. I don't know offhand, because one of your next questions is going to be, what did I buy and sell in the last week? I actually draw a blank and I forget what it is because we move so much stuff. So, let's just say to date, I did sit down one night and figured out, and looked at some Excel sheets of everything we bought and sold. And I know I've moved about 1 billion pieces, 1 billion widgets since 1991. So 1 billion units of something, trash cans, videos, mouses, keyboards, staplers have moved through my building invoicing system.
That's absolutely incredible. So,
I saved 1 billion pieces from being put into the earth.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So now they're in people's homes somewhere else and eventually being thrown away that way.
Right. But it wasn't there's got to be you should go to the California government and say, I want some type of tax rebate because I'm being environmentally so friendly.
I love how you said the California government. You're right about that. If it was Florida or Texas, they'd go, we don't care.
Right. Yes. Florida will say, send us the landfill. We'll build a theme park on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know you're talking about truckloads, but is there a minimum size that you specialize? I won't touch anything less than 10,000 units or whatever it is.
You're very adept to how my business works. So thank you for knowing that. Yes, I do have a minimum. We don't like to play with anything pretty much less than 2,500 units. That's kind of our rule. So if someone calls and says, I have 1 of this and 3 of that, we don't want it. A lot of people call and say, I have a hardware store, I'm closing. Can you buy my inventory, which means 1 of this, 2 of that? We don't do it. It's really, Craftsman calls us and says, hey, I got 10,000 screwdrivers. We go, great. We love it. Let's do this. That's what we're into.
How do you manage the flow of inventory coming in and out of your warehouse? And how do you have a space big enough?
So we save carbon footprint, which means wherever we buy the inventory, we move it to a local warehouse there. So we try not to bring everything to a central warehouse because shipping these days is insane. So, for example, I used to pay $2,500 a truck before COVID. Now I'm paying $7,500 a truck to ship. So I'm going to try to move it down the street, and it's only going to cost me $1,000 a truck or $500.
And then when you resell it, does that new buyer have to then pay the transportation to get it from wherever you stored it to them?
50-50. Sometimes they'll pay, sometimes they'll make me pay. Depends. So each inventory, each transaction is different. Each retailer is different, who we do business with, or wholesaler. So every day is a new day and every day is a new fun challenge.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever bought?
The weirdest thing I've ever been offered? I'd rather go that direction. Okay. Human hair, pig ears, the oily grease that comes from fish. There's 3 interesting things that we did not buy that we passed on.
I could pay thousands of pig ears?
Yes, because the pigs get slaughtered, and I guess the ear is the only thing they haven't found
a use for.
So, for example, we've been offered, spoiled milk. So every retailer, Target, grocery stores always has spoiled milk. So we don't try to buy anything perishable because obviously it expires, but spoiled milk is already perishable, but apparently the pigs drink it. They love it.
Pigs,
but I don't own a pig farm or anything like that, so that's not in my wheelhouse. I'm more products that can be bought and sold to retailers. So anything you see in a Walmart, a Target, a Best Buy, that's more my niche. But although I've moved plywood, 5 trucks of plywood, so I never thought I would do that. So
is that from Home Depot to Lowe's?
No, it was actually from a construction company, and it was sold to another it was sold from one construction. It went from Chicago to, I think, Seattle. And ironically, Seattle, because that's where wood comes from.
I was gonna say that's where all the trees are.
Yeah, so I thought it was funny that it was going back in that direction. But again, every day you see something and you hear something and you just go, wow, that is amazing.
or you're not sure how that makes sense.
Right. For example, like, going back to my early days of movies, so we bought some Hanna-Barbera videos, which are cartoons for anyone that knows Hanna-Barbera.
Yep, I've got kids.
That. And we sold that to Target. And then the company then wanted to sell us more. And it was other items that were going to McDonald's. And it was ironically, the McDonald's wanted to do 3 movies in a Happy Meal, VHS at the time. So it was big. And it was movies they shouldn't have done. Throw Mama from the Train, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and Dances with Wolves.
Which are great, child appropriate movies.
Exactly. Well, Dances with Wolves, okay, but
you got a little bit of Native American history, but I've seen all 3, and the other 2 are. I would not necessarily want my 10-year-old watching a movie about being competing con artists.
Yes, exactly, and that was why McDonald's pulled it, and that's why it was a closeout. So I always hear a backstory, which is my purpose in telling you this. There's always a backstory to why there is a liquidation. What happened? What went wrong? Well, Dances with Wolves. Kevin Costner, actually, he wouldn't allow his face on the video because he didn't want his face in the McDonald's Happy Meal. So that was the other thing. So then that movie just didn't do well. Plus kids didn't care about that, a 3.5-hour movie about Native America. So that's just to give you an idea. Sometimes why I'm offered these liquidated items is something went wrong, something changed, recall, this, that, and we always have to investigate it to see what's going on.
Do you ever get tempted by the stuff you see to say, man, I want to open another business that does X, Y, and Z?
No, but I own 2 other businesses because the liquidation business or the retail, I don't know, I want to have all my eggs in one basket. So if you're in the retail wholesale business, especially during recessions, 2008 right now, retailers closing, it's not a fun thing to be in. So, but I'll take that back. One of the other businesses started because of the closeout business. Basically, I was buying and selling blenders to Groupon back when Groupon used to sell stuff online. Now they just sell trips to places, and they really wanted more blenders. So I went to China to look for it, to go meet with the manufacturer. And in my dealings in China, which is where everything is made, I found another product that started a whole nother business.
Can you tell us what that is?
Of course it is. I had to lure you in a little. It's a marketing business. So what we do is we make specialized marketing material, which is brochures, physical brochures that people pick up, but it has a video screen inside of it that plays upon opening the brochure. So when I went to
those.
What's that?
We use those.
Oh, video brochures. So you know them. So I have a company that manufactures them, and we have some plants in China. And when I went to China looking for the blender, I found this and went, oh my God, this is amazing. And I can do this with it. So yes, I technically did, to answer your question, start another business based on the closeout business.
So then you need to send me information about that company because you may be a whole lot cheaper than who we're using.
Maybe. It depends. Sometimes we actually have more expensive, people have said, because we're more about customer service and quality. Because a lot of my competitors that do that put in used parts, or the battery goes dead, or something goes wrong. And we try to do a little better. We try to be the BMW. But yes, so it. So very cool. And that is a business I've been doing since 2013.
Yeah, we love video books. Awesome.
Yes, they're great. It is the best way to promote something, as long as you have a video.
Right. Yeah, that kind of helps.
Yeah, a lot of people call us, they don't have a video made, and I go, well, I can make the video for you. And we've done that for certain clients. So, because I'm in LA, that's the good thing. We have a lot of people that like to make movies here.
You for sure do. Now, what's the longest you've ever had to sit on inventory for before you gave up on it?
We owned inventory probably like a year or 2, but I probably gave up trying to sell it after like 3 weeks. I'm kind of a one and done guy. So if someone has, Dixie cups, okay, we actually did a closeout on this, and we can't find a buyer or something after 2 or 3 weeks, I'm done. I won't even promote it anymore. I consider it a closeout. I'm done with it.
You mentioned selling it for a penny. Who are you selling something to? Is there that part reminds me of like the old infomercial about you can buy stuff from police auctions that they seized from drug dealers you can buy a Ferrari for $100. Like, not that I would want 10,000 Dixie cups, but is there an auction site somewhere? Like, or do you just say, I mean, could that be you go list it on eBay, or do you find a buyer for a penny, or do you just throw it out?
The latter two. So we never sell anything on eBay, because eBay, there aren't buyers who are looking for, honestly, I think this was 40 truckloads.
Is there an institutional version of eBay?
Yeah. So we just, because I've been doing this for 30 years, I have a database of probably 6,000 contacts. Okay. So that database, and that's, somebody in there will pay a penny for this. One man's trash is another man's gold. That's the line. So somebody wants the Dixie cup, and actually this is not even worth a penny, but we'll pay, a penny for a 12 pack.
Got it.
So there is somebody who will buy it. And will I trash it at a certain point? We've thrown stuff away, but I would never throw away 40 truckloads of this, because that's now you're really ruining the earth. So
excellent point. You mentioned your role at your database. How do you build and maintain those relationships? How do you communicate with them? Could someone be on there from 10 years ago that you haven't talked to, or are you in some type of regular communication of everybody?
Yeah, so that's a good question you ask. So I'm always in communication with them, usually via email. Okay. So they're either getting emails from me or I email them. Yes, I'll call them, but these days, it's been, unless I'm the only one in your database of listeners, it's a little difficult to get a hold of people these days. They don't answer the phone. They don't even have a phone anymore. Like one studio we work with said, we got rid of all of our phones. Well, how do I get a hold of you? My cell phone. Well, what if I don't have your cell phone? You're not getting a hold of me. So corporations have made it a little bit more difficult to actually find the person you need to speak to, the point of contact. So yes, I have a database. I try to update it as much as possible, but the best way to find new contacts is through these, like LinkedIn, or through it's something called Seamless AI, which just goes through LinkedIn basically.
We use it.
Okay. I gave up on it because I noticed like 50% of the emails are kaputs.
Well, we found another software that has a higher accuracy rate.
Oh, I'd love to know that
conversation.
Later. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then also conventions and conferences. So obviously when you go there, you actually collect business cards. So you now have the latest contact for what you want to talk to. And please, I pray he has a business card. He gives it to you and then you have their information. Because honestly, the scan guns, I found that 50% of that is correct, actually. By the time it scans, it's either wrong or they didn't put their phone number down. They just put their name and their web address. So that's what I have found is the best way to get new contacts. Or if you can, pray to God, you find some association that you can call their list on. So. You've
been doing this for so long and had so much success at it. What's your biggest challenge nowadays?
People. Humans are a little different today. So I'd say the biggest issue is, there's always a new challenge. So it's finding a person you can talk to and have a regular conversation with, finding someone that's, has a business snack and wants to talk and, will just be a straight shooter and reply back to an email and say, no, thanks, and not lead you along, no entitlement. And then technology, technologies, these computers we're on are always, Microsoft's always updating it. You go in to send an email like, oh, you need to update. You got to do this. You got to download this. I'm like, oh my God. And wait, I like the email the way it was. I've been working for the last 5 years. Why did you move this button over here now? So those little things I think are the things that, probably irk me the most.
You are preaching to the choir for sure.
Okay, good.
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
Everything is different every day. So I'm not working at a conveyor belt where you're stamping the same thing every day. So every day is something new because I'm dealing with human hair or pig ears or clocks or, cups. So it's never the same thing. Just like you're talking to a new guest every day or X amount of days. It's fun. It's different. You get to learn new things. So I learn something new every day when someone tells me about Dixie cups and, hey, everyone's out, outlawing foam cups. So I'm offering you a deal on foam cups. Well, I don't want them. Nobody wants them anymore. Well, I'll go to Portugal. Okay. And then Portugal buys them.
Well, then,
yes.
On that note, we greatly appreciate your time. We know it's incredibly valuable. For any of our viewers or listeners who are working at an institution like a retail store that might have excess inventory, where is the best place for them to go to learn more about you?
They can email me, which is the best way, Ryan@aplanb.com, or they can go to the website. I'll say it again, aplanb.com. So the letter A, the word plan, the letter B.com. We try to make it simple, like, hey, I have a plan B. So that's the best way. You can find my email there, but just Ryan@aplanb.com. And if you have any questions, I'm here to help, just like you're here to help entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. This has been Seth Greene for Sharkpreneur with Ryan from aplanb.com. Ryan, thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everybody. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.